Hi, I'm Uncle David here in Collegedale, Tennessee at our GMI Gospel Ministries International hangar. We just got here a couple days ago from South America, and we're getting ready for our trip back down. Ever since I was 21 years old, I've been flying twin Comanches like this little plane here. Logged a lot of time flying over oceans and jungles. Still flying. My favorite small twin, very economic, can carry a lot of weight a long ways. For my age, it's not so easy to sit there for 20 hours, 28 hours in some cases. But God has provided us so much care and protection and blessing over the years that I am just grateful for the tools that God provides. Today, in nearly 96 countries, we operate projects such as orphanages, schools, television, radio, medical aviation programs. I don't have enough words to express my gratefulness to the Lord for His provision, for His care, for all the missionaries, all the volunteers that work. And we're here today because one of our missionaries, Brantley Greenlaw, one of our mission pilots, has made a short video reporting on the work in Bolivia and reporting on some of the donation of airplanes we recently received. I'm very grateful for each of our mission pilots. I'm very grateful for those in training. I'm very grateful for our doctors, our dentists, our nurses, our mechanics, and all of those that make it possible. And some of you that actually every month sacrifice so much to be able to keep gasoline in the tanks, to keep the engines rebuilt. These engines are relatively new. We only have a couple of 100 hours on them since we put them on, and just a couple months ago, and we've been flying the wings off of the plane, so to say. Now we are in the process of launching these other airplanes that have been donated. We know God is faithful because we've experimented it. We know God will provide. We're not quite sure from where. We have several interested parties that are interested in helping. Maybe God will put it on your heart, but God will launch those airplanes, and we hope to have them flying very soon all across the world and doing the work for which they were donated. I want to thank you especially for your prayers. They mean a lot to us. And when we do the work on the front lines, when we present sermons, when we share God's word, when we warn people of the crisis about to hit on the world, the storm clouds are on the horizon, we're thankful that God gives us the opportunity to make those visible. Millions and millions in 26 languages, as we broadcast radio and television, are being blessed by those messages. I myself spend less time preaching and more time flying and meeting with governments, meeting with organizations, training pilots, and so on. I don't spend my time preaching most of the time. God has given me a lot of visibility in the world, and I'm grateful to use that influence to be able to wake up, to warn, and to show people how close we are to the end of time, and that our lives might be placed in order at all times, that our resources, our influence, our time and money might be used appropriately in these last few months of Earth's history before the doors close. The nations are angry. The people are angry. The crisis is very painful. All over the world, at this very moment, in Bolivia, people are raising up to protest the elections, which they consider to be in many ways fraudulent. And in Asia, in Africa, Haiti, all over the world, there's a growing desperation. Rome is working very hard. The nations of the earth are uniting, and God is still holding the winds a little longer so that we can work. I'm grateful to be able to have the energy, the skill, the time to dedicate myself full-time to God's work. I know many of you would like to do that too, and I hope you can someday, and I invite you to do that. But meanwhile, it is time to work here. I just want to thank Brantley for the work that he's doing, he and his wife Jenny, and I want to support their effort to get these airplanes launched. Thank you for viewing. Thank you for sharing with your friends, and pray for us as we fly, as Brantley flies, as all of our pilots are working, and our mechanics, our nurses and medical staff to make this possible. May God bless you. May we work shoulder to shoulder till Jesus' coming, and for eternity may we be together and enjoy the fruits of our labors. God bless you.
Hello, my name is Brantley, and this is my wife Genevieve. We have been working in Bolivia for about 2 years. I've been working as a pilot and a musician, and my wife has been working as a school teacher. During this time, we would transport missionaries, supplies, and patients over the vast plains and jungle territories in Bolivia. As we would fly the patients, we realized that we didn't have any capacity to fly patients that were in critical condition. And so we prayed to God that He would provide an air ambulance configured airplane. Earlier this year, a U.S.-based company donated not one airplane, but 6 airplanes for us to use that had been previously used as air ambulances. Our purpose for preparing this video is to show you both flights that we have done for the purpose of evangelism and for medevacs in the country of Bolivia. Then we're going to show you the airplanes that we've been working on and ask that you consider partnering with us to help us get these airplanes flying again and working in the mission field. God has been so good to provide these airplanes to us, and now it's our turn to get them flying and ready for the mission fields in Bolivia, the Philippines, and possibly Africa. But first, let's take a look at some of the flights that we have made to bring medical care and the spreading of the gospel to the people of Bolivia. The country of Bolivia is pretty large. It's about 2 times greater than or bigger than the size of Texas, and it has very few roads. There are roads that go between the major points inside Bolivia, such as the major cities, but other than that, there's only a few roads. So in order to get from our base in Santa Cruz to other locations, it's most feasible to go by air. We have a number of medical volunteers, missionary volunteers, nurses, doctors, physical therapists, and dentists, to name a few. And it's also a location of David Gates Media Center. We flew the team out to the San Borja airport, which is about a 2-hour flight, and the airplane could only hold 6 people, so the other 2 had to go by land, which was an 18-hour bus ride. We brought 250 Bibles and Steps to Christ to bring, and we had to pile them all into this dugout canoe that would take the team up the river to 6 different villages. The river is pretty much the only feasible way to travel in this region, at least quickly, and to carry supplies. So the people use this river as their means to get their goods to the marketplace. The people live in mostly primitive conditions off the land and have virtually no medical, dental, or any hospital-type services. And their diet, it's not that great. Their living conditions are much worse than ours in many ways. The only way to get to the village is with a single footpath trail and a few obstacles on the way. They do have water. Water wells have been dug so that the people can have fresh water, and these kids are having a great time getting the water out. Meeting the people's needs where they are is the entering wedge for the gospel work, and they feel that we really care about them when we bring dentists and doctors in. Not only can we give them the medical care that they need, but we're able to also give them better knowledge of how to take care of their bodies through the 8 Laws of Health, the New Start program. The New Start acronym means N for nutrition, E for exercise, W for water, S for sunshine, T for temperance, A for air, R for rest, and T for trust in God. And meeting these people here in these villages gives us the opportunity to counsel them and educate them on these 8 laws of health. The team finished their work in the first village, and now it's back in the dugout canoe to head up the river to the next one. After receiving the medical care, the people are eager to receive the literature. There are some who cannot read and write, but even so, these books are a treasure to them because they want to learn. And now they will learn about the love of God. Jesus said in Matthew 25:40, "And the king shall answer and say unto them, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these my brethren, ye have done it unto me." It's been such a joy and a blessing for us to go to these villages and talk with these people, sharing the love of God and how to take care of their bodies. It's just been such a blessing. And the children, they had never seen crayons and coloring books before, and they had an opportunity. We brought colored pencils and paper. They just really enjoyed it. When we saw that the children didn't have any school books or writing materials, we did make an extra trip to go back to the villages, and we distributed supplies. The water on the runway here shows a thunderstorm had gone through and kept me from picking up the team. I had been praying that God would move the storm and allow me to pick up the team, but he didn't answer my prayer. And the next day, I found out why. That night, there was a security guard watching our team have worship, and he asked what they were doing. It was Friday evening, and so Ruth gave him a quick Bible study on the Sabbath. He said he had drifted away from God and asked that they pray for him and his son, who had microcephaly. Afterwards, he said he believed that God had sent the storm so that I could not come and pick up the team, and that they could meet with him, and he rededicated his life to the Lord. This is a medevac flight to try to save a prematurely born baby by getting it to the hospital. The aunt, the nurse, and the helper went on this flight to Trinidad. Last year, we started praying for an airplane we could use as an air ambulance, and God answered our prayer, not with just one airplane, but 6. These airplanes were donated by a company that does medevac flights, and so each of the airplanes are already configured with the necessary components to run the medevac or the medical equipment. There are 4 Cessna 414s, a Cessna 310, and a Cessna 425 turboprop that was donated. Here you can see that the turboprop engines on this 425 need to be taken off. They've been sitting for 4.5 years, and they had to be inspected by a special shop. So we had to take the time to pull the engines and crate them up and ship them out. The shop has finished the work on these engines, and they're ready to be shipped out as soon as we can get the funds to pay for them. Our mechanic missionaries have spent a lot of time in this aircraft. You can see the instrument panel is pretty good shape. They're inspecting the tail and the flaps, looking at the systems in the back of the airplane. And this airplane flies pretty fast. It's about 250 knots in its speed, and it holds 8 people. Here they're checking the gear, making sure that it swings properly, looking to see that nothing is in the way, and that when the gear actually goes up, that it is up and tight and locked. And there's FedEx taking one of the engines away in the crate to the shop. While waiting for the 425 engines to get worked on and inspected, we proceeded with the next airplane, which is a Cessna 414. This also carries 8 passengers, but it's piston powered, so it flies a little bit slower, about 180 to 190 knots, true airspeed. We had to go through all the systems with this airplane as well, checking the gear, making sure it swings properly, looking at the engines and checking the compressions, checking the propellers, and then we get to start it up and actually run the engines, making sure that oil pressures are good, the fuel flows are good, and the system's all working correctly. One of the brake lines on this airplane was leaking, and so we had to replace it. The landing lights all had to be replaced, and after doing run-up on the engines and taxi tests, we actually did some high-speed runs on the runway, make sure that the brakes were working, and then I flew it up to Kelso, Washington with a special ferry permit. This airplane is going to go down to Bolivia, and so once we got up to Kelso, Washington, we had to pull the engine and drive it back down to Utah and swap it with one of the other airplanes. This airplane here in Utah has a brand new engine on the right side, so you can see we're taking it off and we're going to put the old engine on this one. That way the one that I just flew up to Washington will have 2 new engines on it and be exportable down to Bolivia. This engine swap took us 1 day in the hot sun, and Scott and Kyle just worked nonstop throughout the whole day to get this engine taken off and the other one put on. Some of the accessories also had to be swapped between the 2 engines, and then the new one went back in the van so we could drive it up to Kelso, Washington, while the old one went on this airplane. At this point, we have done as much as we can do with the limited funds that we have. We've gotten the 414 flown up to Washington, and we should be getting that annual inspection finished by probably the next 2 or 3 weeks. But after that, we don't have enough funds to get the rest of these airplanes ready to fly, and the 425 also needs its engines paid for. So we're looking for partners who would like to help us get these airplanes flying again, and donations can be made at gospelministry.org/donations. That website will be shown at the end of this video, so you can see it on the screen. Thank you for watching the update, and may God bless you as you consider ways in which you can help us get these airplanes back in service for God.